My name is Filip Procházka. I'm from Czech Republic, and I work as a web developer at a startup called Step Up Labs. We make a expense splitting app for when you need to split bills between your friends. And originally I used to be Android developer, but I switched to web development. So Firebase, it's a platform, as Alexei showed you, with a set of tools and APIs you can use as a developer. There is the database, NoSQL, real-time, the authorization, storage. One key part when you are a web developer is the hosting part, because it's free for a long time. The quota is very large, and it's especially good for single-page applications, so you can host only static files there. And this way, it's really good with combination with Firebase, so you get the data from Firebase and have your single-page application, for example, like the Riga Dev Day one, hosted on Firebase hosting. It supports HTTP2. It provides you HTTPS certificates automatically, even with your custom domain. It's hosted on a CDN globally, so the content is accessible, it's cached, and there is a built-in versioning feature. So when you push something to the hosting and you realize it's wrong, you can roll back to your previous versions, any of them. You have timestamps, and yeah, so it's something like Git, but with hosting. And then there is the cloud messaging I would like to talk about. So it's a replacement for GCM, so GCM is now deprecated, and Firebase Cloud Messaging is replacing it for all platforms. And it provides you with a REST API to send push messages to your clients. It also supports the other way of push messaging, so your clients can send push messages to the server, and it's received on your backend. You can configure topics and device groups, so you don't have to list all the user devices when you're sending push message. You can use a topic. So, for example, when you are sending promotion, you don't have to list all your users' registration IDs. You can just send to promotion topic you created before and subscribed all your users to. And it wasn't available for the web immediately with the Firebase release, but since October, it's available also for the web. And it's time for a story. So it's a story of a man who had an amazing shop, and it looked like this. He was selling all the things on the internet, but currently has only one there. And he was sad because he wanted to have his users engaged and provide them with features like tracking their order and letting them know what's happening with it, but he was using email to deliver those messages. And he saw in his analytics that he had just 5% email open rate, and just 1.5% of all the emails were clicked through and back to his website. So he was thinking about a solution, because originally he thought that email equaled user engagement. But the problem is that now more than 97% of all emails are unwanted, and about like 50% of emails are just complete spam. Like unwanted emails include all the promotions you are receiving in your inbox. So your email inbox is mostly filled with junk stuff, and you are reading only the really important emails. So it's really high probability that when you are sending emails to your users, they just get along with all this junk and nobody reads it. So what other possibilities the owner of the shop had? Well, there are notifications that you can engage with your users directly, but there are two ways to implement them right now. You can have a native app, but in his case, where it's a small shop, it would be expensive because he would have to cover multiple platforms like iOS, Android, and keep the app working. Also, you don't want the app for just the notifications. You want also, when you are making the app, to have the shop there, buy the items, registration. So it would be much more complex. So for his use case, it's not the best fit. There are the web notification standard. So the best thing is that there is no installation required for the users. The sad thing is that it's not supported on all the platforms. Currently, only Chrome, Firefox, and Opera Mobile are supported. Safari is considering support for the service worker standard and thus will allow web notifications. But it's in their 5-year plan, so who knows. And also, there's the possibility of having the native app and web notifications, which would be the best, but would be probably the most expensive way. So large e-shops like Alibaba, they definitely have web notifications built in, and also native app where you can shop. Okay, so where to start? Let's use the web notifications, but an easy way to do it, the cheapest, probably he will stick with Firebase, because thankfully his shop is also built on Firebase, so he has all the things he's selling in Firebase. So let's quickly see how the shop looks like. So it's a simple shop where you have different categories. You can click on a category, you see the stuff that's sold there, and you can select how many of it you want to buy. So maybe I want to buy 4. I add it to my cart. Yeah, I can view it. I can go to the checkout, and that's basically it. So it's a really simple shop built on Firebase. So all the data are in Firebase, are synced real time. So even your shopping cart, wherever you log in, it's there. Okay, so to add the web notifications, we will be using the Firebase database that's backing this shop, and we will add the Firebase cloud messaging, so we can start showing the notifications without the user being on the site. So in order to do that, we need the Firebase JavaScript SDK. You can get it on firebasegoogle.com. As it was released in October, you need to update to the latest version in order for it to work if you were using Firebase before. And when you have it, we can just set up the FCM. So there are a few steps you need to do in order to get it working. First, you need to have a manifest.json in your web application, and you need to have this GCM sender ID there. It's for the browser to know that the Firebase push service can send you notifications. This ID is static, it doesn't change, it's not related to you, it's related to the Firebase cloud messaging service. Then you need to create a new file called Firebase messaging sv.js. It's the file where we will write the service worker stuff in order to show the notifications. And then, of course, you need to include the Firebase library into your website. And the important part here is that you need the Firebase messaging sender ID, which you can get in your Firebase console. The storage and authentication stuff are optional if you don't need them, but this is the complete configuration. And when you have it, you can just use Firebase messaging API, which is accessible like that. But you would have to set up the install the service worker, then fetch the token, push it to the server, to the Firebase database in this case, and it would be a lot of code and a lot of complications possible. So we can use new standard web components, which is currently rising and will be finally implemented in all major browsers this year, because it was released as a standard at the end of 2016. So there is an amazing library called Polymer, which allows you to use the web components right now, so you don't have to wait for them to be implemented in all the browsers. And it gives you some additional stuff like data binding, so you don't have to bind all your variables in JavaScript to the web components manually using JavaScript. It's a simple syntax you can use, and then you can bind the data between the different components. What are web components? It's basically just a component like a div or form or any other web component that has a predefined behavior. So you have some JavaScript, some styles, some HTML. So let's look at how it looks. So this is an example of an existing component you can use. It's called Firebase app. It's inside a library called Polymer Fire, and that's a library written by Google that can be used with Firebase and make using Firebase as simple as possible. So you have this Firebase app component. You just defined your configuration, so auth domain, database URL, API key, whatever you need. And as we want to use Firebase call messaging, we can use Firebase messaging component, and it will handle the token generation and receiving messages when the app is in the foreground, so the user is in the app. You may want to handle the messages and show him or change the UI. Then this component has all this stuff already written. And as we use these two components, and then we need to just ask for the permission, because in order to show the notifications to the user, if any app could do that, you can imagine that the user will be spammed a lot with a lot of notifications, and it would be same as with emails, but just with your phone constantly vibrating, or in case of you have smartwatch, it will be your watch and your hand constantly vibrating. So you need to ask the user for permission. That's very simple. We just call a request permission method on the Firebase messaging web component. So this is basically just a shorthand syntax for the document getElementById, which is provided by Polymer. And we are returned a promise that when upon resolving, we were granted the permission by the user. If we received the error, the permission was denied. So we now know how to show the permission dialog, but when to ask the user? Well, we are limited to, or we want to ask this permission only to users that are logged into our website, so not everyone who arrives. It definitely would be a valid use case. So for example, for our DevFest in Czech Republic, we had also the notifications using Firebase, and we were asking everyone who came to our website whether he or she wants to enable notifications, and we could then deliver to all the attendees important notices, so the lunch is ready and such stuff. So, but here we want to show the notifications only to users that are logged in. So after the user logs in, he will see a notification pop up like this. So do you want to be allowed to, or do you want to allow this website to show notifications? When you click allow, the promise will resolve. When you click block, it's a little bit tricky. The website is of course notified that user denied the permission, but in order to get it allowed again, user would have to go to the browser settings and manually allow it. You can't show this this prompt again. Okay, so now we have the permission of the user, and we automatically get the token with the web component, and we need to save it to the database. And as we are using web components and Polymer, we can make it very easy. Here you can see the data binding, where here we are getting a user variable from the Firebase auth web component, which provides the authentication. And here we are using it as this is our path in the Firebase database. So we have users, user ID, and FCM token, and we store the token we received here. So when you look in the database, it looks like this. So we have our shop database, and we have users. This is the user ID, and FCM token is automatically stored. And whenever the token changes, for example, the user clears the cache in the app, whatever, it automatically gets updated as you are using those web components. You don't need to handle this manually. And the final part before you can start sending the notifications is that you need to implement the service worker, because that's the thing that really is receiving in the background the notifications from the Google servers. So the service worker, of course, needs to again use the Firebase SDK. So you include the Firebase, you initialize the app. This time you need to just have the messaging sender ID. And then you just start listening for messages in background. The payload here is the data you receive from the server with the push message. And you just retrieve a data object from the push message, give it a title, give it body, give it icon, and just show the notification. It's important that on the web you can't not show the notification. You must always do that, because otherwise the browser will show a generic notification. Your application was updated in background. Yeah, so you can't use this to just sync data in background. You must always show a notification. So you can sync your data and then show a notification. Okay, so we have the notification service worker ready, and we can send the notification. That's done using this simple API. So you send a post request to FCM Google IP's FCM send with a JSON body and authorization key. This is a key retrieved in your Firebase console, and you provide the data you want to send to the client. In this example, we are using just one registration ID. There are multiple options. You can specify the topics, as I said. You can use registration IDs array, so you can send it to multiple clients. The important thing there is that it's limited to 1,000 registration IDs. So if you have more than 1,000, you would have to use either multiple requests or use the topics or device groups in order to achieve sending to more than 1,000 devices at once. Okay, so then there is then you need to write your own server. So you need your backend for this part, because the Firebase doesn't allow you a way to send notifications to web apps directly. there is an option in the Firebase console where you can send notifications to mobile apps directly, but it's also very limited and simple, so most of the time you will need a server to handle your logic. And in this example of an eShop, you will anyway need to handle the changing stuff of the processing, shipping, and that stuff in your own server logic. So this is a simple Node.js application. Basically, you have the authentication key, then you initialize the admin SDK, which is for server, and we have a code to send a push message. So we prepare our own body of the request. So in this case, we can send it to multiple registration IDs. So we have an array of registration IDs. We have the data, and we are sending a timestamp. So this is just the request. Here we are retrieving the FCM token of user from Firebase, and there is just our fake order process for this example. So all of this will be or is available on GitHub. I will post you a link later if you want to check it out. Yeah, so demo time for the notifications. So let me just quickly switch a GitHub branch. Yeah. So we have our shop application here. I will just quickly refresh to update to the new version. And yeah, and here we see that it immediately asks me to provide it with notification permission. So if I grant it, it's automatically added to Firebase. So if I go to console, Firebase, project, yeah. So if I go to the Firebase database in the console, I should immediately see the data. So I look in the users, and there is my user ID and the new token generated. Excuse me. So the new token generated is here. So now I'm shopping. I really like this red stuff. So I want 5 of them, and I add them to my cart. So I want to buy them. Yeah, so I'm on the checkout page. I have pre-filled all the data, and I just place the order. Okay, thank you. Checkout complete. So in the Firebase, there should be now a new order. Probably, yeah, the last one. And the state is new. So if I just go to fake server and run it, server.js, it should automatically start processing the orders. And there is a fake cycle that waits 10 seconds, then send notifications, then waits 20 seconds, send notifications. So as you can see, it's processing the orders. It changed the status. Yeah, and I have disabled oh, okay. So I get I ordered many stuff before, so now I have like 8 notifications. Your order state changed. This can be easily fixed where, yeah, another 8 notifications. So this can be easily fixed when you provide a unique ID to your notification, then it will replace the previous notification that you issued. As I'm not providing an ID for replacing the notifications, it's just adding more and more notifications. So you can see I have the order change to shipping transfer, yeah, and so on. So Yeah, shipping success. Okay. So this is the easy, simple version of the web notifications and how to implement them. But we can improve some stuff on it. And the main thing I think we should improve is to provide user with the context, because when he just arrives and we are asking him for a notification permission, it doesn't make any sense. For example, many web apps are doing that. For example, Facebook is doing that. When you come to Facebook, it just asks you notification permission. But when you don't know what's that for, you may click block, and then who will go to settings and allow it again? So the use case we have is that when there is a new order, we want to start showing user notifications. So we will add it to the order flow. We will add the ask permission there, and we will use our custom UI to explain the user what it will be for. And we will do that only if we don't have the permission yet. So we will have this UI where we ask, do you want to enable notifications? We will send you notifications when order status changes. And he has like an enable button and a finish button. The finish button will just close the checkout flow, and enable button will enable the notifications. So this is the UI written in Polymer. Again, it's using the data binding, and we have two versions. We have when the notifications are not active, so we are asking for the permission, and if the permission is granted, we just say you will be notified about your order status. So we can look at the version that has this advanced flow. Let me, yeah. So I just disabled the what? Okay. Oh yeah, I'm in the wrong directory. Okay. Yeah. Yeah. So I've disabled the notifications in Chrome. Is done. It can be done here again to the default state. So I again go. I want to buy more of red stuff. This time just one, add it to my cart, go to checkout page, and I place the order. And as you can see, there is this new UI, so I click enable. I'm prompted with the permission dialog, and it says, okay, you will be notified, finish. And now, again, if I would start my server, it would process the orders and send me notifications as the result. Okay, so you can find this demo. There are 3 branches with the parts of the implementation as I showed you on my GitHub. And thank you for your attention. And if you have any questions,